This is 3 News Daily.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to 3 News Daily on this Wednesday, December 28th. I'm Stephanie Haney, here with your top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. And we start off today with new information in the death of local Princeton student Misra Junetti. The Mercer County Medical Examiner has ruled that she died by suicide following an autopsy. The 20-year-old from Euclid was last seen alive the morning of October 14th. Police discovered her body behind tennis courts on campus 6 days later. Now, if you or anyone you know is struggling, remember that you can contact the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling or texting 988. New in Akron this afternoon, officials have issued a precautionary boil water advisory because of a water main break. The boil advisory is for parts of Fairlawn Heights, and Copley. The city advises that if you live in these areas, if you're going to drink or cook with your tap water, you need to bring it to a full boil for 2 minutes and let it cool before using it. The advisory is in effect until further notice, but for a minimum of 24 hours. For a detailed list of residents affected, you can head over to WKYC.com. Now in Cleveland, firefighters responded to a fire at a 2-story apartment building on the east side this morning. The fire department says crews arrived to the location on East 149th Street at 7:30 a.m. Cleveland Fire told us at the scene that the fire broke out on the 2nd story of the building, which was being renovated. All of the residents in the 1st story were evacuated safely, and in an updated post on Twitter, the Cleveland Fire said that there were no injuries and that the cause of the fire is under investigation. Now, not far from here, the citizens of Buffalo, New York are still hurting from an historic blizzard that brought them several feet of snow last week. We know that at least 34 people have died from things related to the storm. Our own Lydia Aspara sat down with a former Clevelander who lives in Buffalo now to talk about the ordeal she and her family went through as the city went dark.
The winter storm that became a bomb cyclone barreled through Cleveland Christmas weekend. As the storm moved towards Buffalo, an intense band of lake-effect snow developed and sat over that city for over 3 days. With the powerful winds from the bomb cyclone, Buffalo experienced blizzard conditions. It paralyzed that city and its residents to fend for themselves. Chrissy Lincoln Paradowski, a former Clevelander, was right in the middle with her husband Mark and their 2 girls, the youngest just 2 months old.
Heat's out, the power's out, cable's out.
The Paradowskis did have a generator, but that ran out of gas. For 50 hours, they kept warm by their gas fireplace. Chrissy reading to 2-year-old Larkin as they were bundled up inside a 40-degree home.
I was worried we weren't going to get power in time for especially the baby.
Nova was kept in blankets. The couple would charge their phones in the car when the batteries died. And that's when Chrissy realized the city of Buffalo was in trouble.
I was reading all of these things and feeling so bad for people that we couldn't even reach. There's nothing we could do. We just watched all these horror stories unfold on Facebook, basically.
Mark, who wanted to help, would venture out to check on his neighbors, but it was too blustery. Many people died in their cars, snowdrifts, trying to dig their way out of 4 feet of snow in sub-zero temperatures. Emergency services, well, there were none.
I think what I spent most of my time with was figuring out what's next.
He was already thinking, what if the power doesn't come back? What if one of the children got sick? What if he couldn't get gas for the generator? The city went from bad to worse. A seiche formed over Lake Erie. The strong southwest wind moved water all across the lake and landed in Buffalo. Some places seeing 20-foot waves, leaving places of frozen tundra. Folks like the Paradowskis are accustomed to harsh Buffalo winters, but this one was definitely something they have never seen before.
Here for 3 days, we couldn't even attempt to open the door, and that's how most people were.
What a horrible ordeal for those people to go through. And of course, we're thinking of the people who lost loved ones in that storm. Now, right now, there is still a travel ban in Buffalo. The snow has thankfully stopped, but for now, no one can come in or out of the city while they start digging out from underneath all of that snow. Now, in air travel news, overnight Southwest Airlines CEO issued an apology after days of travel chaos for their customers across the country. Yesterday, the company announced it would slash its flight schedule, cutting the majority of scheduled flights to accommodate rebooking passengers from holiday weekend cancellations and delays.
I want everyone who is dealing with the problems we've been facing, whether you haven't been able to get to where you need to go, or you're one of our heroic employees caught up in a massive effort to stabilize the airline, to know is that we're doing everything we can to return to a normal operation. And please also hear that I'm truly sorry.
Now, the airline has already canceled roughly 70% of flights for this week. Our own Emma Henderson will have more details for you on this evening. Now let's talk about money, because Ohio's minimum wage is going up. Starting next month, non-tipped workers will be paid $10.10 an hour, and tipped employees will make $5.05 an hour. For those non-tipped employees, that's up 80 cents from the current minimum wage. It was $9.30 an hour. This increase is the biggest on record and comes as inflation hits record highs. Also affecting your wallet, gas prices look like they're dropping to start off 2023. In a new report from Gas Buddy released this morning, statistics suggest that the yearly national average price of gas could drop 50 cents in the coming year. Gas Buddy predicts that as a result, Americans would spend $55 billion less on gas next year than they did in 2022. We will keep our fingers crossed for that, while we keep in mind that it's also possible the national average hits $4 per gallon ahead of the summer driving season. Now here's a heartwarming story. An incredible act of kindness was caught on camera in Alliance, and the video has been viewed over 4 million times on Facebook. Nancy has been serving customers at Heggie's Confectionery for 34 years now, and a few weeks ago, she was serving a table of about 15 regulars when she got a surprise that she wasn't expecting. Each customer got up, gave her a big hug, and a huge tip as a thank you for her service.
They got ready to leave, and they said, "Wait a second," and they said, "Merry Christmas." And one of them handed me some money. And I said, "Thank you, have a good evening." And she goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, wait a second, come on back here. We all have something for you." And then I worked my way around the table. To have somebody do that, something that generous for me, was just so overwhelming.
You can tell it really made her emotional, that gift from those customers. Nancy didn't want to share just how much she was given, but says she hopes it encourages others to share the same appreciation for others in the service industry and pass on that same kindness. Now in lottery news, there was no winner again in last night's Mega Millions drawing, and that means the jackpot is climbing. This morning, it's now sitting at $640 million. It's the 6th largest jackpot in the game's history, and there's a cash option of $328.3 million if you choose to go that route. Now, according to the website Smart Look, the odds of winning are 1 in 302 million. The next drawing will be this Friday at 11 p.m. One Ohio lottery player got a little extra in their stocking this weekend, too, because one ticket hit the classic lotto kicker worth $100,000 on Christmas Eve. Ohio lottery officials say the winning ticket was sold at a 7-Eleven in Twinsburg in Summit County, and those lucky numbers were 4, 9, 14, 28, 37, and 40. And the kicker was 099841. So according to the Ohio Lottery, by adding the kicker to that classic lotto ticket for $1, you can win up to an additional $100,000. But in order to win, you have to match in exact order from left to right that 6-digit kicker number printed on the ticket. You know, my thing has been the Powerball drawing for the last year, and I've got 2 more weeks to go in my experiment, so I've got my ticket for tonight. Tonight's Powerball drawing jackpot is now at $215 million. Now in New York City, Times Square's iconic crystal ball is all ready to ring in the new year. The final Waterford crystal triangles were installed onto the ball on Tuesday. About 200 of the more than 2,000 triangles on the ball were replaced this year, and the new crystals represent this year's theme, which is the gift of love. And for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic, there will be no restrictions for the Times Square festivities. I got to do that one year, actually. I went to Times Square for the New Year's Eve thing, 2004 heading into 2005, and I will tell you, with no restrictions, that is a lot of people, and I hope everybody has a great time out there. And I hope you have a great rest of your week as we head into 2023. We'll see you back here tomorrow with more of your top stories here on 3 News Daily.